Yes, I'm here to tell you about the development of the local community food center. I'm going to sort of talk about my story coming to Stratford and the parallel story of the development of the local community food center and how those two stories sort of came together. So I came to Stratford 2 years ago next week, and I started a blog called The Local Come Lately. And basically, I came here as a food educator and activist, and my activism and my blogging are not separate, they're the same. And so immediately I started throwing myself into the food scene here. I hooked up with Paul Finkelstein at the Screaming Avocado Cafe, and we put 9 school gardens into the elementary schools across Stratford. That was one of my first blog adventures, activism adventures. I also accompanied Paul and his students on a trip to Nunavut in October, where we went to a place called Cambridge Bay and had an amazing food adventure there. We're cleaning Arctic char there, and we also went hunting for caribou and stuff like that. I'm also the coordinator of the Slow Food Sunday Market that's been happening every Sunday since 2 Junes from now. That's the market family right there, and I'm really proud to be part of that. I think it's been a great initiative, and I've also, something that sort of changed my life in my blog was being part of this Put Food in the Budget campaign. They did this thing called Do the Math, where you had to live off a food bank ration for a few days, and I did it as one of my blog adventures, and it really opened my eyes to food insecurity and the issues that people face. So that's my story. In parallel to that, in Perth County, there was something called the Perth County Food Security Coalition that the United Way of Perth Huron had convened. It's all the food banks, community meal providers. There's actually 6 food banks in Stratford, and there are 12 community meal providers in Stratford. So there's a very robust system already in place for combating hunger in our community, and they come together through this coalition. At the same time, the Stop Community Food Center from Toronto is one of the most fantastic organizations probably in the world working on food security issues. That's Jamie Oliver there visiting their greenhouse. They have community gardens, greenhouses, community cooking classes, and a food bank. So they came to Stratford and decided that it was a great place to set up a food center. And they saw the activism that I was working on, and I became the director of the local community food center, and I was recently named to that position. Thank you. So what we're going to do here in Stratford is set up a beautiful space, probably on Erie Street, the old Country Depot. We're going to set up community gardens out back. It's an old garden center, so it's perfect for that. It also has a greenhouse. Community gardens are great for activity and for building community around food. We're also going to have a community kitchen for educational purposes, as well as for serving drop-in meals to people in need. Healthy, always focusing on health and trying to work with low-income folks so that we can help them stretch their food budget as much as possible. And this is really neat. We're setting up a food distribution center. Food banks and similar not-for-profits have a issue with capacity. They can't take huge donations of food from industry or from agriculture. So we're going to be taking in large donations of food from agriculture, including like greenhouses and stuff where they have seconds that they can't sell to grocery stores. And 25 million pounds of fresh food goes to waste every year in Ontario alone. So we're going to try and fix that. We're also going to, or at least in our community, we're also going to take in really big donations of food from processors and from industry. For various reasons, sometimes food like this just can't be sold, and we'll take it. If it's healthy, we will take it, and we're going to create a warehouse where we'll take that out and redistribute it out through the food banks. The Ontario Association of Food Banks has actually gotten on board with this as well. They've started something called Community Harvest. That includes gleaning, so people go to farmers' fields and take the food that hasn't been harvested. Also taking food from greenhouses and stuff like that. Holy, this is going fast. We're having a big event on Saturday at the Grapes of Wrath. The festival's given us a production of the Grapes of Wrath to build a fundraiser around. So this is our big breakout fundraiser. And if you want to see me after, I can give you details. But if you cite that promo code, you get a special ticket to the Grapes of Wrath. And then afterwards, we're having an amazing reception upstairs at the Avon Theatre's Chalmers Lounge. All these great sponsors have provided food. Simple's providing an oyster bar. Bijou's providing 2 dishes. County Food Company provided a lot of the food today. And also, catch me at the intermission. I'm selling raffle tickets to this amazing freezer full of food. We have a freezer that's been donated by Turnbull and Stewart, and Slow Food and Simple Fish and Chips have filled it with locally raised meat and sustainably produced seafood. And for $10, you can get a ticket for that amazing prize. And that's it. Thanks.